Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. My name is Staraptor. Welcome back to the channel. I'm playing catch up on this week's episode because I've been away at Star Wars Celebration for a couple weeks, so I have come back to catch up on the two Marvel comics that we have. So I'm gracious enough that Marvel didn't, put a deluge of comics out while I was gone, so it's not too bad to catch up. So getting into the first one, we have Jedi Knights issue number 2. This one is called The Deepest Cut. This is written, of course, by Mark Guggenheim with artwork by Matebek Musabekov. So this one is showing us what the potential of this comic book series is, because as you remember, that first issue was a big ensemble epic adventure where it had all the different Jedi. Now this is where we get into the nuts and bolts of what the series actually is about, where it's always going to be two Jedi Knights doing some kind of mission. So in this case, we have Velko Mooncrest as well as Yoda. And, well, these two characters are trying to investigate this one planet called Veros, which supposedly has some kind of weapons or something. And it's headed by a droid. And this droid is going to be familiar for some folks from the 80s and 90s, because this was an unused toy in Return of the Jedi's era. And this one is called Atha Prime. So they go to this planet. They find out that, hey, yeah, it's a pretty peaceful planet. They're cultivating crops and whatnot. But that's until they go to the lower levels, when they find out this very bad problem they have to deal with. And these things look like xenomorphs, and these are called, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Zerexi. And they're pretty cool, actually, because they're swarming. They remind me of the Tyranids from Warhammer 40k, just like this unstoppable onslaught of all these creatures trying to take down Yoda, trying to take down Mooncrest. So Yoda basically says, oh, you could do this on your own. I'm going to do something else to Mooncrest. And she's like, what? And Yoda goes and faces against Atha Prime. And Atha Prime pretty much whoops Yoda's butt, which is very surprising as a Jedi Master like Yoda. He even impales Yoda a little bit and stabs him, but then Yoda's able to basically just take this guy down, or whatever, robot down. And then they kind of get the rest of the Jedi in there to dispose of these things. But Atha Prime does get away on his ship, and on his ship he has a lot more Zerexi in their little cloning tubes, wherever those things are. So it's like, okay, when are we going to see this guy come into the fray once again? Because that's a pretty big problem that the galaxy would have to deal with. And we also get a part B of the story, which picks up with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan does tell Qui-Gon about the dreams he had in the previous issue about his death, about Qui-Gon's death. And Obi-Wan does research and finds out that this killer that he was seeing is called Corliss Wrath, and apparently they had never met before. So we're wondering, like, who this character is. A brand new character to Star Wars. We're not really sure, but all in all, I really enjoyed this issue. I hope that they continue with Mark and the team to really kind of go out of their way to make cool stories set before the Phantom Menace. So getting into the next one, we have Legacy of Vader, Reign of Kylo Ren Part 3. As we left off, Kylo Ren was trying to assert his dominance over Gardulla the Hutt and was quickly dispatched and thrown in prison, and that's where we pick up. He's being electrocuted. He refuses to obey to Gardulla the Hutt, and in his pain and suffering, he has a vision from Darth Vader, and you see this really cool artistic display of Vader just taking down the fleet troopers that we see, at the end of Rogue One / beginning of A New Hope. And Kylo is like, how do I get this power? How do I get this power? And Vader says, you'll never be as magnificent as I am if you're seeking help. I've done this all myself. And that gets, Kylo Ren to spark with this hatred. And in that hatred, he's able to overload his captivating device. And then he goes on a revenge journey against Gardulla the Hutt. First of all, he has no weapons or anything. He's basically half nude. And he goes up against what looks like the old style imagining of a krayt dragon. Takes that thing down, wears its skin as leathers, and gets its teeth as weapons. And it goes against the Gardulla the Hutt's guards, comes out with his lightsaber, and tells basically General Hux, Orbital will bombard this location. And he takes down Gardulla the Hutt's entire castle with the First Order finalizer, I believe it is. And then we also get him catching up with Vanya, who is the one that sent him up there in the first place. And he's still in league with Vanya because Vanya says, "You have much more to learn. Come visit me on Naboo." And that's where we're going to find out his journey for the next one. So I thought this was full of a lot of action. It kind of went a lot faster than I thought it was, as far as like the montage of Kylo Ren just like ending up killing the Great Dragon thing and killing the other guys. I was like, is this a fever dream? It seemed a little bit fast paced to the point where I was like, oh, let's slow down a little bit to see what's going on, because I was a little bit misled at some points throughout that. But otherwise, like the artwork, everything else is absolutely amazing in this, as you would expect, and I'm looking forward to seeing what goes down when Kylo Ren goes to his grandparents' planet, or at least his grandmother's planet. So yeah, there you go. Those were the comics that came out. I also have my own video to Beyond Victory, which was a comic that came out exclusively at Star Wars Celebration. So check that out. And many of the other content that I will have coming out. I have manga I'm going to be reviewing. I have a novel I reviewed. There's so much stuff on top of the trip vlog that I'll be creating. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more about Japan, more about Star Wars comics, and everything else. For more, that's going to do it for me, Star Raptor. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.